It was my third year with Elena Sterling. After another one of our usual nights together, I lay there awake, finding myself replaying the casual words she had spoken earlier that evening. I couldn't get them out of my head. She had been on the phone, her voice bored and dismissive. "What are the Sterlings so afraid of? It's not like I'm actually going to marry him," she had said. "I don't like drama. He's clean, and he does what he's told." When she finally stepped out of the shower, steam billowing out behind her, I called out to her. "I'm turning 26 next month," I said, my voice sounding smaller than I intended. "My parents are really pressuring me to come home. They want me to meet someone and get married." I had agreed to their demands. Elena just nodded, calmly lighting a cigarette. The flame illuminated her sharp features for a second. "Good for you," she said, exhaling a thin stream of smoke. "When the time comes, tell me your fiancé's name. I'll vet her for you." She walked over and wrapped her arms around my waist, but her voice was cold, lacking any real warmth. "You were with me, after all. I can't let some random person walk all over you." It was already my third year with Elena Sterling. No one looking at us from the outside would have guessed that I would be the man who lasted the longest with her. And no one would have guessed that the heir to the Sterling Corporation, known to the rest of the world as a stern, serious, and incredibly self-disciplined businesswoman, would be so indulgent and demanding in private. Her needs had always been significant. Even after 3 years of sleeping together, I still hadn't completely gotten used to it. As if sensing that my mind was wandering away from her, Elena dug her fingers into my waist, pulling me tighter against her body. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. I lifted my eyes and met her bottomless, dark gaze. "It's too much," I murmured. My brow furrowed as a haze of moisture clouded my vision. Elena seemed to let out a soft, breathy laugh. "So sensitive." She tilted her head up to kiss me. I returned her kiss, then moved my lips down to her chin and her delicate collarbone. She let out a muffled groan, her long fingers practically squeezing my waist in two. She was a woman in her late 20s, yet despite her demanding job and long hours, she kept her body in perfect shape. I had enjoyed myself these past few years. It wasn't exactly a loss for me. Tracing the firm lines of her narrow waist, I closed my eyes and let myself sink into the moment, pushing away the thoughts of the future. An hour later, it was finally over, leaving us both breathless and tangled in the sheets. Elena kissed my unfocused eyes as I lay limply on the bed, totally drained of energy. Then she got up and went to the bathroom. The sound of running water slowly pulled my thoughts back to reality. 3 years together. It wasn't like I hadn't had my share of unrealistic dreams. I had fantasized, but I was also keenly aware that there was no real future for us. Still, actually hearing her confirm it out loud was a different kind of feeling, one that was hard to put into simple words. She was always a woman of few words, her speech rarely carrying much emotion. Only that one night when she was drunk did she let a few true feelings slip out. Every word she'd said reeked of indifference. "What are the Sterlings afraid of? It's not like I'm going to marry him." "But Elle, you've been together for 3 years. There has to be some kind of connection, right?" "I don't like drama. He's always been so well-behaved and obedient. I'm a germaphobe and he's clean. That's all." The memory of it made me laugh softly to myself. It was true. When I first got with her, I was a blank slate, knowing absolutely nothing. She had molded me bit by bit according to her own tastes. Now, the man Jack Miller had become, from my style of dress to my moves in bed, was exactly what she liked. But that was all. Elena came out of the bathroom, her hair dry, and started to get dressed. As she was tying her scarf, looking in the mirror, I said her name. Elena. Hmm? I'm turning 26 next month. What do you want for your birthday? She leaned in to kiss me, but I turned my face away. My parents want me to go back home, meet someone, and get married. Elena glanced at me, then let go of her scarf and nodded. She picked up a pack of cigarettes and a lighter from the table and lit one. I walked over and opened the window to let the smoke out. Her deep voice came from behind me. Good for you. My fingers unconsciously tugged at the tassels on the heavy curtains. I stared blankly out the window. This was the heart of New York City, where an inch of land was worth a literal fortune. Luxury apartments here went for tens, even hundreds of millions. If it weren't for Elena, I wouldn't have even had the chance to set foot in a place like this. But Elena came up from behind and wrapped her arms around me, a faint smell of tobacco enveloping him. When the time comes, tell me your fiancé's name. I'll vet her for you. Her lips brushed against my ear. Her touch was gentle, but her voice remained cold. You were with me, after all. Her tone was light, tinged with a rare hint of amusement. I'd hate to see someone walk all over you. I tried to force a smile, hoping it didn't look too stiff or fake. You don't have to. The hand on my waist seemed to tighten for a brief moment, but then it relaxed. I took the opportunity to step out of her embrace. I'm on leave for the next 2 days. I'll pack my things and move out as soon as I can. Elena stubbed out her cigarette in the ashtray and gave me an emotionless look. Suit yourself. She turned and went into the walk-in closet. A moment later, she emerged with her coat. I watched her walk toward the door, all the way to the entryway. Elena. She stopped, but didn't turn around. I stared at her back, feeling a little dazed. I couldn't imagine that just a few minutes ago she was kissing me, calling me Jack. A sudden sting filled my nose, and I fought back the tears that threatened to spill over. Should I leave the keycard with security or whatever? I'm not living here anymore. With that, Elena opened the door and left. The sound of the door closing was a bit too loud. It felt like a fist slamming into my heart. After she left, the whole apartment felt instantly empty. I sank onto the sofa, drained of all energy, and sat there for a long time. Then I forced myself to start packing. Once my bags were packed, I started writing my resignation letter. I still had some work to hand over before I could officially leave. I would have to stay in NYC for a few more days. I booked a cheap hotel online and checked in. Suddenly, I had nothing but time on my hands. An old college classmate who had returned with success from abroad was organizing a reunion. The hotel he booked was incredibly high-end. Since I was in the city, it would look bad if I didn't go. I just didn't expect Sarah Chen, the queen of campus from my college days, to be there. The moment she pushed open the door to the private room, a stir went through all the guys. Sarah, you're back in the country. Wow, you're even more beautiful than you were in college. Sarah, you know I had a crush on you for 2 years back in the day. Who didn't have a crush on Sarah? Right, Jack? The guy next to me grabbed my arm, shaking it excitedly. I instinctively looked toward Sarah. She stood there, an elegant trench coat draped over her arm. Her figure was as slender and graceful as I remembered. Her gaze passed over the crowd and landed on me. Jack, long time no see. Sarah, long time no see. A gentle smile slowly bloomed in Sarah's eyes. You've matured a lot. You're even more handsome. After the party, everyone tactfully arranged for Sarah to give me a ride. Home. I'd had a little to drink. My face was flushed, and my steps were unsteady. As we got out of the elevator, Sarah thoughtfully supported me. I quickly thanked her, but before I could pull my arm away, I felt a sharp gaze from a distance. I looked over instinctively and met Elena's cold stare. She was surrounded by a group of people, standing under the magnificent lights of the lobby. Her beautiful, chilly face was as expressionless as ever, but you could clearly sense her displeasure. I was only stunned for a couple of seconds before I looked away and continued walking, but Sarah called out to him. "Jack, wait for me a second. I'm just going to say hi to a friend." I stood there and watched as Sarah walked smilingly toward Elena. "Elena, long time no see. It really is a small world." They chatted and laughed like old friends. I decided to walk a little farther away to avoid them, but I couldn't help but overhear Elena's unhurried voice. "Your boyfriend?" Sarah laughed. "He's just a friend from college, a few years younger than me." After a pause, she added meaningfully, "As for a boyfriend, I'm still working on it." Elena gave a slight nod. "He's handsome. Good luck with that." Sarah was clearly surprised, but also delighted. "You think Jack is handsome too, don't you? Back in college, he was just this sweet, innocent, naive kid. I almost didn't recognize him after all these years." Elena's gaze fell once more on my straight back. I was dressed impeccably today. A fitted shirt outlined my broad shoulders and narrow waist. I really did look different. She said coolly, "I have something tonight. We'll catch up properly another time." "Okay, you go on. I'll take Jack home first." Sarah watched Elena get into the elevator before turning back to me. "Sorry to keep you waiting. Let's get you home." I shook my head, followed her out, and got into her car. "That woman earlier, the heir to the Sterling Corporation, is really something else," I said. "Is that so? I don't really know her." "We were high school classmates for 2 years, then she went abroad." Sarah glanced at me. "But she seems so cold and hard to get to know." "You wouldn't guess it, but she was a total hopeless romantic when she was younger." My fingers unconsciously tightened on the seam of my pants. For a second, I felt my heart skip a beat. It was a guy she was dating when she was studying abroad, from Hong Kong. His family was crazy rich. They were the golden couple of the international student scene back then. As she said this, Sarah glanced at me again. "You know, at first glance you kind of look like him." My chest suddenly constricted. A dense, aching sourness filled me completely. After a while, I finally found my voice. "What happened then?" "Later, I think the guy didn't want to move to New York to build his career. He wanted her to go to Hong Kong." Sarah shook her head with a smile. "She's the only daughter of the Sterling family. How could she possibly leave behind such a huge family enterprise to follow a man to Hong Kong? So they fought over it. They were both young and proud, neither would back down, and they broke up for good." "That's a shame." "It is. They said she almost died for that guy back then." I slowly lowered my eyes, secretly unclenching my fist. My palm was slick with sweat. The reason the powerful can navigate love and relationships with such ease is because they've seen it all. They've had people go through fire and water for them. They've also been crazy for someone else before. So for those who come later, no matter how passionate their love, in their eyes, it's nothing special. A suit yourself, a good for you. In their hearts, you won't stir even the slightest ripple. "Jack, when you get back, remember to accept my friend request on WhatsApp." Sarah helped me open the car door. I thanked her and got out. She glanced at the hotel and frowned. "Do you want to switch hotels? It's a bit sketchy, and not very safe for you to be staying here alone." "It's fine. I'm only here for a couple of days." "Well, call me anytime if you need anything." As she spoke, Sarah reached out and ruffled my hair, just like she used to in college. "Don't be a stranger, you hear?" I instinctively took a step back, avoiding her touch. A flicker of disappointment crossed Sarah's eyes, but she quickly recovered. "It's late. You should go inside." I waved at her and walked into the hotel. In the dim elevator, I leaned against the wall, feeling dizzy and weak in the knees. I wasn't really that drunk. It was just the heavy weight in my heart, like a stone. The feeling was driving me crazy. When I got off the elevator, I took out my key card and swiped it. The moment I pushed the door open, a warm, large hand gripped my wrist tightly. I was pulled into a soft, fragrant embrace. My instincts kicked in, and I struggled frantically, letting out a low shout. "Jack, it's me!" The familiar voice made me snap my eyes open. Only then did I see the woman in front of me. It was Elena. "What? How are you in my room?" Elena pinned me against the door, looking up at me with a condescending, scrutinizing gaze. She let go of my wrist only to grab my chin. "Moving on seamlessly, are we, Jack? I'm impressed. We already broke up." A sudden flash of anger crossed Elena's face. She gripped my chin and slammed me against the back of the door. Her kiss was frenzied, and her deep eyes were filled with rage. Fear surged through me. I pushed desperately, but I couldn't move her. But Elena knew my body like the back of her hand. She easily aroused me until I was weak all over. A wave of heat washed over me like molten lava. Angry and humiliated, I kicked out at her. But she caught my calf with her warm, strong hand. Her long fingers slipped under the hem of my shirt, roaming over my firm stomach. Finally, she bit down on my shoulder through the thin fabric of my shirt. I let out a muffled grunt of pain, my eyes instantly turning red. Only then did Elena mercifully let me go. "Jack, go tell Sarah." "Tell her what?" I glared at her, my eyes red. Elena's lips curled into a smirk. "Tell her that her sweet, innocent college friend fell apart after I just kissed him a little. Jack, do you think a woman as proud as her would still chase after you?" I didn't panic. I didn't lose my composure. Once my emotions settled, I looked at Elena. "Ms. Sterling, are you going to leave now, or should I wait for the police to escort you out?" The color in Elena's eyes slowly darkened. "Jack, you know my temper." Of course I knew. Which was why every decision I made wasn't out of spite, nor was it a tactical retreat. I had truly thought it through. I wanted to make a clean break with her. 3 years together had almost completely devoured my sanity. I didn't dare to imagine what it would be like after 4, 5, or 7 years. How excruciatingly painful, how impossible it would be to pull myself away. Better to rip the Band-Aid off now. "Ms. Sterling, we got along well these past 3 years. You were very good to me. Being with you, I learned a lot. You saved me a lot of trouble. I never had to struggle or feel slighted. I'm grateful for that. So now that we're separating, I don't want to make things ugly. If you leave now, I'll pretend this never happened." "Move." Elena suddenly cut me off. Her voice was detached, but the pitch was slightly higher than her usual tone. I took a deep breath and stepped aside. Elena didn't look at me again, nor did she say another word. She pulled open the door and walked out. Tonight's incident was already the limit of what she would do. She was a cold-hearted person, and she never liked to force anyone. A privileged upbringing and exceptional abilities were enough to support a lifetime of pride and self-confidence. She would never bow her head. Not even that rich kid from Hong Kong could make her back down, let alone me. I looked at the closed door and laughed mockingly at myself. My chest still ached dully. Thinking about the way she had kissed me just now, I still couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. Maybe she did have a tiny bit of affection for me. Maybe she really was a little reluctant to let me go. But I couldn't give myself a way out. The day I finished my work handover and officially resigned, I actually saw Elena from a distance at the office, but she didn't see me. I stood there holding a cardboard box and waited for her to step into her private elevator. "Jack, will you come back?" A colleague I was close with asked me, reluctant to see me go. "Of course, I'll come back to visit you guys when I have the chance." Everything was going so well. Why did you suddenly decide to resign and go back home to get married? We were the best work buddies. Without you, work is going to be so boring. When you get married, you have to send me an invitation. I won't forget. Well, I'm off. I had worked here for 3 years. The work environment was great, and I got along well with my colleagues. Now that it was time to leave, I really was a little reluctant. I took one last look at my desk. I walked into the elevator holding the box. Downstairs, I walked to the curb to wait for my Uber. I didn't know it at the time, but as I waited on the curb, up on the 36th floor, Elena was standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window that took up an entire wall. The cigarette between her fingers had a long ash that she hadn't flicked off. Maddie was sitting on the sofa, watching her friend's back with great interest. "Why do you look like you just got dumped? You can't let him go, can you?" Maddie found this quite amusing. She had seen Elena's little boyfriend many times, a particularly obedient and well-behaved kid. He had a soft personality, too. She really didn't expect him to be so resolute all of a sudden. It was a clean break, not a trace of hesitation. Elena slowly pulled her gaze back and flicked the ash from her cigarette. Then she gave Maddie a cold look. "You have nothing better to do?" Maddie stood up, grabbed her blazer, and raised an eyebrow. "Want me to grab a drink with you, girl?" Elena didn't answer. But she stubbed out her cigarette, grabbed her coat, and followed her friend out of the office. She was a workaholic. 99% of her energy was devoted to work, so she really couldn't figure it out. Where did things go wrong with me? They spent almost every night together. She had brought me back a lot of gifts from her last business trip. The last holiday, we spent it together. She gave me flowers and a designer watch. She had spent the day thinking back on the details of our recent interactions. She couldn't find any oversights, nor could she recall me ever being unhappy. For 3 years, I had been so easy to handle, and she had long since gotten used to having me by her side. When I first came to the company as an intern, she was the one who had spotted me and kept me in the secretarial office. It turned out her judgment was correct. Jack was like a gentle, well-behaved little animal. He was handsome, with a soft personality. Being with him was relaxing, comfortable. Women have always been generous with the men they like. The apartment we lived in together was already in my name. She had originally planned to give me the deed and the keys to a new car on our 3rd anniversary. I had just gotten my license and was still a nervous driver. But now I suddenly said I was going home to meet someone and get married. Then I submitted my resignation. At first, she just thought I was throwing a tantrum for some reason. She had even teased me about it. But then, in a blink of an eye, she saw me on a date with Sarah Chen. Sitting in the car, Elena sent a text to her trusted assistant. "Look into Jack Miller's college days. A campus queen and a handsome, obedient younger student." So it was perfectly reasonable to assume something had happened between us. Elena couldn't help but frown. If Jack had been in love with Sarah, then what did it mean that he had accepted her pursuit? Elena felt an inexplicable fire burning inside her, but she couldn't pinpoint the source. That night she had a few too many drinks. At 1:00 a.m., her driver took her home. Elena leaned back in the spacious rear seat, closing her eyes tiredly. Her phone suddenly vibrated a few times. Elena picked it up and opened it. It was a text from an unknown number. "Elena, I'm in NYC. Come pick me up." Not long after I returned to my hometown, a former colleague sent me a piece of gossip. "Jack, our cold and distant CEO, Ms. Sterling, is in the news. Looks like it's her first love, a real getting back together story." I was lost in a daze for a moment, But then I masochistically clicked on the video. It was a series of blurry photos taken by paparazzi. A late-night airport pickup. A photo of a young man getting into a car. It wasn't clear, but you could still imagine how handsome the male lead must be. The last was a photo of the two of them sitting across from each other at a restaurant. Elena used to take me to that restaurant often. The media used over-the-top language, the epic love story of a Hong Kong tycoon and a New York heiress spanning 7 years. It sounded incredibly touching. No wonder there's never been anyone by Ms. Sterling's side. Turns out her heart was already taken. I replied with a few words and then closed the messaging app. That day, Sarah had casually mentioned that I looked a bit like that guy. Perhaps that was the reason Elena had noticed me when I first joined the company. Timid and a little unpolished. There was no such thing as love at first sight. It's just that people tend to fall in love with the same person over and over again. After 3 failed attempts at arranged dates, Sarah sent me a text. "Jack, why can't you consider me?" Back in college, like all the other guys on campus, I had also been attracted to the beautiful and talented Sarah Chen. Later, we got to know each other in a club, and she was very kind and took good care of me. I was young then, and had secretly thought that she treated me differently from the other guys, that maybe she liked me a little too. Later, I accidentally saw her hugging and kissing the famous heartthrob from the athletics department. Only then did I realize that in Sarah's eyes, I was just a cute underclassman. My youthful dreams were shattered, but I didn't stay sad for long. After that, I slowly distanced myself from her. When Sarah graduated and went abroad, she told me to keep in touch. I smiled and agreed, but in the following years, I never once reached out. Until now, when we met again. All I felt was the ordinary affection of a former classmate. "Jack, why aren't you replying?" "Sarah, I'm almost 26. I'm not interested in a relationship that goes on for years with no end in sight." Sarah called me. "Jack, you're almost 26, but I'm already 28. I want a family even more than you do, so do you understand what I mean? Can you let me think about it?" Of course. In the 2nd month after returning home, my father's old illness relapsed. He had cancer 10 years ago, and the surgery was successful. But 10 years later, it suddenly relapsed without warning. And this time, there was no hope. The doctor said he had 3 months at most. When the test results came back, my mother broke down sobbing. "It's all because of that shameful business of yours in New York. Last year, that woman drove you back. You could tell her car wasn't cheap. Later, your cousin said it was a Bentley worth at least a few million. All our relatives and friends were gossiping, saying you were being kept by some rich woman in New York. Ever since then, your father has been holding in his anger. Every time your marriage came up, he'd just drink and get upset. That's why it came back." My mother started crying. "Again?" "Jack, she's way out of our league. We're not the same kind of people as a woman like that. When you suddenly quit your job and came home, I knew. She was done playing with you and she threw you away. Your dad felt bad for you but didn't dare to ask. He could only drink by himself. Let's just find a normal girl to marry so your dad can go in peace. Can you do that?" I stood for a long time before finally nodding. "Okay, I'll listen to you." When Sarah found out about my father, she came to my hometown overnight. She helped contact hospitals and specialists. She ran around putting in a lot of effort. With her looks and personality, she was already very likable. She easily won over my parents' hearts. When they found out we were college alumni and that Sarah came from a good family, they were even more delighted. Hearing that I still hadn't accepted Sarah's advances, my parents started to blame me. It was Sarah who defended me, speaking up for me. It's also because I haven't been back in the country for years. Jack and I grew apart. We just need to give him some time to get used to the idea. Uncle, Auntie, please don't blame him. It's my fault for not doing enough. That day, as I was seeing her off, Sarah stopped me. Jack, I have my own selfish reasons for this too. My family is pressuring me to get married. They're pushing me to go on dates, and I don't want to. So I told them I already have a boyfriend, and we're planning to get our marriage license. Your uncle's health isn't good, and your marriage is also a weight on his mind. Jack, if you think I'm a decent person, why don't we give it a try? You know feelings can be developed over time. Jack, I'm not pressuring you. Can I give you an answer tomorrow? Sarah ruffled my hair, her smile gentle. Okay, but I'm afraid I won't be able to sleep tonight. After breaking up with Elena, I never actively sought out any news about her. But that night I searched for all the recent news related to her. She hadn't denied the rumors of getting back together with the Hong Kong tycoon, but all related photos and videos had been scrubbed from the internet. Elena's most recent public appearance was at a banquet hosted by a major figure in NYC. A reporter tried to ask her about her personal life. Her expression was cold, and she didn't say a word. Her bodyguards immediately blocked the reporter. That was the first time in months I had seen her up close, even though it was through a screen. I felt like she was a complete stranger, as if the 3 years we had shared a bed were just a dream I had imagined. As I was closing the web page, I happened to see a post on social media. The post was tagged with Elena's name and had just been posted to her fan page. Girls, I think I just ran into Ms. Sterling and her first love, the one that got away. The accompanying photo was blurry, but I recognized Elena's back immediately. She was walking side by side with a tall young man on a deserted street, late at night. The young man was turned toward her, saying something, his smile radiant. The post quickly garnered over 1,000 comments. They look so good together. My sister was in their circle when she studied abroad. She said Ms. Sterling and Mr. Wu were super sweet back then. Tell us more. My sister said it was like watching a romance drama every day. I mean, a handsome guy and a beautiful girl like that. It's a once-in-a-lifetime sight. After they broke up, Mr. Wu tried to kill himself. He almost died. I stared at this comment, stunned. Sarah had told me a little about Elena's past, but at the time she said it was Elena who almost died after the breakup. But the comments said it was this Mr. Wu. In truth, these old stories had nothing to do with me. I just couldn't imagine what Elena's romance drama love life would have been like. In any case, it couldn't have been as ordinary as our 3 years together. The day Sarah and I got our marriage license, she asked if she could post about it on her social feed. I agreed without a second thought. Sarah was in high spirits. She pulled me in for several photos and tagged a bunch of friends. I also picked 2 photos and posted them. Just 3 simple words. I got married. A moment later, Sarah's phone started ringing. But she didn't answer, just kept hanging up tirelessly. Should you get that? I pointed to her phone. I had a feeling her mood was a little off. Wait for me in the car for a bit. Sarah saw me to the car, then walked away, clutching her still ringing phone. Her back was to me, so I couldn't see her expression. The car door was closed, so I couldn't hear what she was saying. But somehow I didn't really care. My parents were overjoyed. They posted our marriage certificate and a photo in the family group chat. Then they sent out several large red envelopes of money. I smiled, sent money of my own, and exited the chat. Just then a call came in. When Elena's name flashed on the screen, I felt dizzy for a moment, but I quickly composed myself. The phone rang until it stopped. I didn't answer. Elena was acting strangely. A few seconds later, she called a second time. This time I declined the call. And she didn't call again. Sarah finished her call, but she looked upset. She rushed to the car. "Jack, I'll take you to the hospital to see your dad first. I have something urgent to take care of." "Okay." At the hospital, I had just gotten out of the car when it sped away. I stood there for a moment, then gave a small laugh. We were all adults. We all knew the score. Who doesn't have a past? Who doesn't have secrets? That evening, Sarah called to say she had urgent business and had to return to NYC overnight. I didn't ask much, just told her to be careful on the road. After hanging up, I stood at the gate of the hospital, waiting for an Uber. A third-tier city can't compare to the bustle of places like New York. It was just past 10, and the streets were already thinning. Out! I idly kicked at leaves on the ground. I didn't even notice Elena's Bentley pull up in front of me, not until a car behind me honked. I snapped my head up and saw the familiar car. I felt like I was frozen in place, unable to move. The rear window rolled down, and Elena's voice was as calm as ever. "Jack, get in." I slowly came to my senses, but I took 2 slow steps back. In the distance, the Uber I'd called had arrived. It was pulling over to the side of the road, its hazard lights flashing. I didn't look at Elena anymore. I strode toward the car. "Jack!" Elena's voice suddenly rose. My steps faltered, but I didn't turn to look at her. I was afraid I would break down, that I would give in. In front of the person you love, you're always a little more vulnerable. I didn't want to fall deeper into the trap. I didn't want my father to leave with regrets. I didn't want to become a joke to others, the guy who was played with for a few years and then tossed aside. I didn't want to be the only one left scarred in the end. I walked quickly to the Uber, pulled open the door, got in, and told the driver to go. I just didn't expect Elena's car to follow us. "Hey kid, is that car following us?" the driver asked quietly, looking in the rearview mirror. "Don't worry about it. Just drive." I leaned back in my seat, watching Elena's car tailing us in the mirror. I knew I was weak. Several times I almost told the driver to stop, but in the end I forced the words back down. Stop for what? To go back to her side? To continue this ambiguous relationship? To waste my entire youth? Sure, I could get a lot of money, a lifetime of financial security, but maybe I would have to live in the shadows forever. Just like how I worked by her side every day and slept by her side every night. But no one at the company knew I was her boyfriend. After paying, the taxi driver told me to get home safe. I thanked him, and without a single glance back at Elena's car, hurried toward the gate of my apartment complex. But Elena grabbed my wrist. "Jack, we need to talk." "I don't want to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about." I tried to shake her hand off, but she held on tighter. "Fine. Then I want to talk to you. Whatever it is, we can talk tomorrow. It's late." "Jack, is it because of Sarah that you broke up with me?" "No. You had a crush on her in college. Now your dream has come true, right?" "No." I couldn't take it anymore. I looked up at the woman in front of me. I didn't know where her anger was coming from. I didn't know why she was angry. Maybe it was because someone she thought she had complete control over had suddenly broken free, and she couldn't adjust. Maybe it was because Sarah and I got our license so quickly. It was a blow to her pride. Other than that, I couldn't explain her reaction. "No." Elena seemed to laugh at herself. "Jack, don't lie to me. Whether I'm lying or not, does it have anything to do with you?" "Of course it does. Jack, you know I hate it when people lie to me or use me." Elena was always emotionally stable. In the 3 years we were together, I had never seen her lose her composure for a second, but right now her emotions were clearly volatile. "I didn't lie to you, and I didn't use you. If you don't believe me, go ahead and investigate. I had no contact with Sarah for all those years. The first time I saw her again was at the class reunion a few days after we broke up, the same night I ran into you. Ms. Sterling, it's not illegal for me to date or get married after a breakup, is it? Elena looked at the man in front of her. A few months apart, and he had lost weight. He looked a bit worn out. He used to always have a gentle smile, one that could melt anything, that made people like him. Now he just seemed listless. He was right. He and Sarah had indeed only met for the first time after he broke up with her. And it wasn't illegal to date or get married after a breakup. But a fire was, smoldering inside her, and the pent-up emotions were swelling in her chest. It kept her up at night. Maddie had once told her, "You're just used to having Jack around all these years. Usually it only takes 21 days to adapt, forget, and start over." At first she thought so too. Since Jack liked Sarah and they were getting back together, then she could wish them well. But from the day they broke up until today, 3 sets of 21 days had passed. She couldn't forget him. It was like an addiction she couldn't break. In fact, she had later asked Maddie, "You and Julia have been apart for 3 years. Have you adapted, forgotten, and started over?" The only answer she got was a long, long silence. In that moment on her friend's face, she saw her own reflection, the same sense of loss. "Ms. Sterling, do you remember when you drove me back to my hometown last year?" I smoothed my hair, looking calmly at the woman before me. Actually, what my relatives said wasn't wrong. In my eyes, it was a 3-year relationship. In Elena's eyes, it was more like a 3-year arrangement. Of course. I lowered my eyes and smiled. "My relatives saw your car back then, after that rumor started spreading in my hometown, saying I was being kept by a rich woman in New York. My dad got so angry he argued with them, almost got into a fight. And that's when he started drinking again because he was in a bad mood. This year his cancer relapsed." "Jack, why didn't you tell me any of this?" "If I told you, would you have married me?" I looked up, a slight smile on my face. "My family and we're all just ordinary people. My parents, they don't expect me to marry into wealth or climb the social ladder. They just want to live honestly, and for their son to have a simple, smooth life. But you wouldn't have married me." If I hadn't overheard what she said that day, maybe I wouldn't have woken up and gotten out so quickly. "So because Sarah was willing to marry you, you married her?" Elena's eyes were faintly red. "Jack, marriage isn't a game." "But that's how the world works. A relationship without marriage is just a castle in the air." I couldn't help but laugh at myself. "Besides, you don't have that many feelings for me anyway." "Jack, you are not me." "But I can feel it. Elena, you've been in love before, so you should know what it's like to truly love someone." She didn't answer, just frowned, and fell silent. "All right. We've said everything that needs to be said. I can swear when I was with you, my heart was always with you. Elena, for those 3 years, I really did love you. But that's it. That's all it was. Let's part on good terms and not bother each other anymore, okay?" I gave her one last look, fighting back the tears that threatened to fall. This was always my nature, but Elena had never bothered to understand me. In a relationship, I would give my all, never letting my mind wander. But when it was over, it was truly over. No dragging things out, no lingering attachments. Even if it was painful, I would just grit my teeth and endure it. "Jack," Elena called out to me again, "I was going to give this to you on our 3rd anniversary. Now consider it a wedding gift." She handed me a manila envelope. "You know my personality. I don't take back things I've given away. If you don't want it, or if you think it will cause you trouble, you can throw it away." After she finished speaking, she stuffed the envelope into my hands and turned to leave. What Elena gave me was the deed to the 3,000-square-foot apartment in New York, and the keys to a top-of-the-line Volvo. I had just gotten my license and was still a nervous driver. It was Elena who had taken the time to drive with me for 2 days. Perhaps she knew I was a cautious driver, which was why she didn't choose some flashy sports car. She said it was a 3rd anniversary gift. Now it was my wedding gift. The emotions that had been building up all night finally broke. My eyes stung and my vision blurred. I sat alone for a long time, unable to describe my feelings. I didn't regret the past 3 years. For those 3 years, maybe she did have some real feelings for me. There's a common saying, where the money is, the love is. Although these things were nothing to her, at least they made me feel that the past 3 years hadn't been just my own personal chaos. That was enough. Sarah had been back in NYC for 5 days and hadn't contacted me. At the hospital, my mother was a little worried. Did something happen with Sarah? Why haven't we heard from her? And Jack, did she say when she's going to take you to meet her parents? Mom, she already said she'll bring her parents to visit us. You just focus on taking care of Dad. Don't worry about anything else. I just have this uneasy feeling. I mean, with Sarah's credentials. My mother didn't finish, but I knew what she meant. Your son's not so bad either, I said, trying to comfort her with a smile. I'm just afraid because of your last relationship. It's not shameful to break up after a normal relationship. I just hope she doesn't get the wrong idea. I didn't say anything. It was normal for people to think that way. The difference between us was just too vast. Sarah's call came. Jack, her voice sounded tired over the phone. I'm so sorry, but my parents' visit to your family might have to be postponed for a few days. My mom isn't feeling well. She's in the hospital. It's okay, Sarah. You take care of your auntie first. There's no rush. Jack? Sarah seemed to hesitate. Sarah, I understand. If we have to separate in the future, can we wait until my dad? Jack, don't say that. Marriage isn't a game. We both said the same thing, but our actions were worlds apart. You should get back to it, Sarah. I hung up. In the hospital room, my parents were talking about something. It was a peaceful, serene atmosphere. I didn't want to go in and break the calm, but somehow I felt that the peaceful days wouldn't last much longer. Sarah hadn't returned, but there was new news from the hospital. A specialist returning from abroad happened to be consulting at the hospital, reviewed my father's case, and proposed a new treatment plan. At worst, it could extend his life by 6 months. My mother and I agreed without hesitation. The treatment costs naturally multiplied, but luckily I could still afford it. I just never expected that when I went to pay the bill, the nurse told me someone had already deposited $1 million into my father's account. I instinctively thought of Sarah. I called her, but she was surprised. Jack, before I left for New York, I prepaid some of the treatment fees, but I only put in $100,000. Maybe the hospital made a mistake. After the call, I went back and asked the nurse. She said there was no mistake. The person had confirmed the payment was for my father. I couldn't help but think of Elena. The sudden appearance of a foreign expert was probably not just luck. It was Elena who had arranged it. I thought for a long time, then returned the $1 million to her. Ms. Sterling, the money you gave me before plus my own savings is enough to cover the medical bills, but thank you anyway. Elena received my message while at a rather dull party. Sarah was there too. The two who used to be on good terms were now like strangers. Those in the know naturally wouldn't stir up trouble, especially since Elena had been looking grim all night. But Sarah suddenly approached her. Elena, you're the one who helped pay for Jack's father's medical bills, right? Elena, who had just received the money transfer notification, was already in a foul mood. Sarah's question made her uncharacteristically sarcastic. I am. As Jack's former boss, am I not allowed to show a little charity? Of course you can. Sarah's tone was as gentle as ever. It's just that Jack is my husband now. These are things I should be doing as his wife. Elena, I'll return the money to you. I appreciate the thought, but no need. Elena suddenly stood up, her voice cold. It's just $1 million. I'll consider it a charitable donation. But I do mind, Sarah smiled. Elena, no woman wouldn't mind this kind of thing, right? Then you can go on minding it. Elena's gaze fell coolly on Sarah's face. Jack and I were together for 3 years. You should know that by now. A dead silence fell over the room. Everyone knew Elena never discussed her private life. For years, the outside world had assumed she was single. But now she was openly saying she had been with a man for 3 years. And that man was now married to her former classmate. He was single, I was single. Dating is normal. I've had boyfriends before, too. Sarah's smile deepened. But Jack and I are husband and wife now. The emotions in Elena's eyes were dark and unreadable. Only in the legal sense. The implication was clear. In practice, they had no marital relationship. It's just a matter of time. Something urgent came up in New York that delayed things. You know how Jack is. He's very sweet and shy. Of course she knew. The first time we had sex, I was so nervous my body was stiff as a board. She had to coax me for almost an entire night before I relaxed. At the time, she had even considered giving up, thinking men were such a hassle. But she couldn't bring herself to do it. Jack was the man she had chosen herself. Naturally, every part of him suited her taste. But now Jack was Sarah's husband. It was perfectly normal for them to sleep in the same bed and do what married couples do. Yet Elena felt a thorn prick her heart. That thorn made her restless. She couldn't even bear the thought of it. She had also never hated someone so much. She couldn't stand to look at Sarah's gentle, beautiful face for another second. I'm not in a hurry. After all, we have a lifetime. That last sentence from Sarah seemed to instantly push all of Elena's buttons. She was never one to air people's dirty laundry in public. She always kept her distance from gossip and drama. But at this moment, she found herself absurdly fighting with another woman in public. Ms. Chen, should I remind you of something? Why did your mother suddenly fall ill and get hospitalized? Could it have something to do with your half-brother? The color drained from Sarah's face instantly. If you have any conscience left, Sarah, you should go and confess to Jack as soon as possible. With that, Elena didn't linger and left the hall. Elena didn't transfer the $1 million back to me. She didn't reply to my messages either. A person as proud as her, who had had a smooth life from birth until now, was probably just annoyed by this one ungrateful person. At 3:00 a.m., while I was fast asleep, there was a knock on my door. I groggily got up and looked through the peephole, surprised to see Sarah. In the dimly lit living room, half awake, I listened to her. Love story. Jack, so that's basically it. I was in a rush to get our license for my own selfish reasons. I was desperate. Mark had disappeared without a trace. He told me he would never come back unless I got married. We were on and off for years. But my mom would never accept him. I know his mom ruined my parents' marriage. Sarah gave a bitter smile. But Jack, feelings are a mysterious thing. No one can control them. When I married you, my mom was actually quite happy. She wanted to come visit your family right away. But then Mark came back to find me. When my mom found out, she got so angry she ended up in the hospital. Sarah covered her face in agony. Honestly, Jack, I'm so tired after all these years. At first, I just wanted to use our marriage to force him to come back and see me. But when he really did come back, I wasn't as happy as I thought I'd be. Jack, all these years, do you think I was wrong? I hurt my own mother, I hurt Mark, and I hurt you, an innocent bystander. As she spoke, she suddenly lost control and hugged me. But Jack, I think I'm really falling in love with you. When Elena transferred you the money, I was so jealous. And knowing you were together for 3 years, I felt even worse. Jack, can you give me some time? I want to build a real life with you. Jack. But I gently pushed Sarah away. We were just using each other. Actually, I should thank you. You put my dad's mind at ease. He's been doing much better lately. When my dad... I paused, then continued. We'll go get the divorce papers. Jack, you should go back. Just come to the hospital to see my dad when you have time. Sarah stood up shakily. Her eyes were red, her expression a mix of pain and conflict. But in the end she said nothing more and turned to leave. My father didn't make it to 6 months. On his deathbed he held my hand, but his gaze shifted to Sarah. He couldn't speak anymore, but I could guess what he wanted to say. Parents love their children. How could they not see what was going on? He was worried about my future marital happiness. Fighting back tears, I gently took Sarah's hand. Dad, don't worry about me. Sarah and I will have a very, very good life. Dad, don't worry. I will definitely be good to Jack. He finally closed his eyes. But I knew my father still carried worries for me. After the funeral, Sarah and I peacefully separated. Coming out of the city hall, her mood was very low. Jack, Mark and I are completely over. If there's a chance, can I pursue you again? I shook my head. Like you said, feelings are a mysterious thing. You can't force them. Don't say any more. Let's just end it here. I smiled at her. My ride is almost here. Goodbye, Sarah. Jack, Sarah suddenly stepped forward and hugged me tightly. She only hugged me for a moment, but it was very tight. When she separated, she gently placed a kiss on my forehead. Before I could react, a harsh horn blared. I instinctively turned around and saw the familiar silver-gray Bentley. Elena sat in the back, her face grim, her lips pressed into a tight line. For some reason, the gloom that had been hanging over me for so long suddenly felt like a cloud had been lifted. I couldn't help but smile. After splitting with Sarah, I didn't get back together with Elena immediately. I just went on with my work and life as usual. I even went on one arranged date. When Elena heard about it, she called me. Next time before you go on a date, let me vet them for you first. Haven't you learned your lesson? Or Jack, do you want to give it another try with me? I thought about the bizarre woman I'd met on my last date, and suddenly felt that Elena's proposal wasn't so bad. Later, I myself couldn't quite say if Elena and I were back together or not. But after being single for so long, and with her having spoiled my tastes, I did miss it. So when she made a move, I went along with it. But before we went all the way, I asked her a few questions about the things she said when she was drunk that day, about the one that got away from Hong Kong. Elena was surprisingly honest. I really didn't want to get married back then. You know, my family situation is complicated. My mom was miserable her whole life, trapped in a marriage she couldn't escape. I was originally against marriage. As for saying I was obedient and clean, Elena stroked my face and sighed softly. If we're going to talk about this, can you get off of me first? In this position, I can't have a calm conversation with you. I could clearly feel the changes in my own body. If this continued, I might lose control at any moment. I got off her, but one of my legs was still pressed against hers. My hand didn't move from her waist. It had been almost a year. I really missed it. I'd just chalk it up to satisfying a physical need, regulating my hormones. After all, even if I started dating again, I wouldn't find someone as beautiful and with as good a body as Elena. Jack, when you came to the company as an intern, I personally chose you. You were the one I picked out at first sight. Everything about you I naturally liked. So all of that was true. Then what about Mr. Wu? I caressed the lines of her muscles, unable to resist, and tried to move my hand lower. But Elena caught my wandering hand. When I was studying abroad, I did date him. It was adolescence. Everyone has crushes. But after 2 weeks, I found out he was too wild. Drugs, messy friends. So I broke it off. The breakup was ugly. He tried to kill himself twice, and the second time he almost died. I did feel a little guilty. Last year he came to New York hoping to set up a partnership between his wife's company and mine. So we met a few times, and we only talked about business. Any other questions? So that's how it was. A romance that looked like a movie to outsiders. The truth was rather ridiculous. I shook my head. It seemed I had no more questions. Then let me ask you. Elena suddenly turned on, her side, looking down at me. You and Sarah. Nothing happened? Just that one kiss on the forehead you saw. I'll believe you for now. Such a prude. I'm a prude? Elena seemed to let out a soft laugh. Jack, you seem to have forgotten how I used to handle you. I'm really starting to forget. Besides, it's been over a year. Who knows if it still works? Before I could finish, she had me pinned beneath her, pressing down hard. My head nearly hit the headboard, but she reached out and cushioned it just in time. I was a little scared and tried to play the pity card, my old trick. Elena knew all my moves and simply flipped me over. I couldn't take it. My voice choked. Elena, we don't have a condom. She leaned down to kiss me, her hot breath on the back of my neck. Jack, we're going to get married. I froze. But I'm a divorcee. The atmosphere hung still for a moment. Then the response was a furious, storm-like thrusting. Much later, Elena bit my neck lightly. You are never to say that again. I never did say that again. In the long years that followed, I never brought up that ridiculous episode with Sarah. But the matter of getting married was always put on hold. After all, I had a career now, didn't have to worry about money, and life was pretty damn good. But Elena never let it go. Over the years, Sarah's career had been on a steady decline. She became withdrawn, no longer the gentle, beautiful woman she once was. Meanwhile, Elena's career soared. I also found a job I loved and was doing exceptionally well. On my company's anniversary, Elena had a few too many drinks. That night in a drunken haze, she said to me, Jack, you have no conscience. How do I have no conscience? You know exactly what I mean. I wanted to laugh. Okay, I have no conscience. When are we getting married? Don't you think our current situation is great? We're comfortable together, happy, no ties, no chains. I was no longer the person I used to be, who just wanted to live a conventional life. Now what I wanted most was to please myself first. So you could leave at any time, is that it? I smiled and buried my face in her chest. Elena, I still love you very much right now. As for the future, let's just let it happen naturally. She was silent for a long while, then held me and kissed me. Can I have another drink tomorrow? No. Her stomach wasn't good, and I had already forced her to quit drinking. But Maddie and Julia are coming tomorrow. I haven't seen Maddie in a year, and they're remarried. Doesn't that deserve a celebration? Her words had a hidden meaning. I didn't take the bait, but nodded in agreement. Just one drink then, and that's it. Fine, so bossy. Well, you're the one who picked me. I guess I'll take responsibility for my choice. She probably never imagined that this one choice would define her entire life.